Let us see the next question. Consider following information. Information is given about two securities X and Y. Beta information is given 1.4 and 1.75. Return is provided as 28 and 37. The risk-free rate of return is 10%. You are required to answer following questions. The first question is, there are two investors, Mr. A and Mr. B, who have decided to make investment as under. Mr. A has decided to make investment in RF and in security X. Mr. B has made, that is, took a decision to make investment in RF and in security Y. Okay, so Mr. A is going to invest in RF plus X and B is going to invest in RF plus Y. Both the investors want to take risk in their portfolio equal to beta 0.35. So the question is providing the information that they want to take risk in their portfolio equal to beta 0.35. A part of the question. You are required to calculate the proportion in which investment should be made by each of the investor in RF and in risky security. We understand that, so the question is providing the information that how Mr. A should make investment in RF and in security X so that beta of the portfolio is 0.35. That is the question. How Mr. B should make investment in RF and in security Y so that beta of the portfolio is 0.35. That is the question. This is the way we are required to make the calculation of answer of A part of the question. Now, please write an answer for the A part of the question. That is first part of the question. 1A. In that, over here, we are required to calculate proportion of funds to be invested in A and RF, sorry, in X and RF, so that beta of portfolio is 0.35. That is the question. So I'm writing heading calculation for Mr. A. Let us see that's how to make the calculation of answer for Mr. A, and then we'll do similar working for Mr. B. I want you to tell me answer that say how Mr. A should make investment in this two, that is in RF and in X, so that the beta of the portfolio is 0.35. Friends, we know that say the beta of the portfolio is calculated as simple weighted average. So we will work out the answer like this. Mr. A is making investment in two securities, that is security X and RF. So investment is made in security X and RF. Proportion, that is the weight in which the investment is made. Let us assign Wx variable for weight of X security, and this is 1 minus Wx, so that the total is 1. Beta, we can see that so the beta is given to us For security X, it is 1.40, and of course the beta of the risk-free security is 0. So weight into beta, so 1.4 Wx, and this is 0. Beta of the portfolio should be 0.35. So now Wx will be calculated as balance sheet figure. So we understand that say 1.4 Wx plus 0 is equal to 0.35. So weight of X is equal to 0.35 divided by 1.40. So the answer is 0.25. That is the way the weight of X is calculated. Okay. Now weight of RF would be found of course as balancing figure. Weight of risk-free security is equal to 1 minus weight of X. So 1 minus 0.25, that comes to 0.75. So 75-25, that is the proportion in which the investment should be made in X and risk-free security. Whatever we have done for Mr. A, similar to that we will do for Mr. B. So for Mr. B, let us work out the answer. In that case, investment made in security Y and in risk-free security. The proportion in which the investment is made is WY, and this is 1 minus WY. Beta. So for security Y, the beta is given to us as 1.75. This is 0. Weight into beta. So it is 1.75 WY, and this is 0. Beta of the portfolio should be 0.35. Accordingly, we are required to make investment. So this will be taken as 0.35, and weight of Y will be calculated as balancing figure. So now weight of Y will be found as balancing figure. It is 1.75 weight of Y plus 0 is equal to 0.35. So weight of Y is equal to 0.35 divided by 1.75. So the answer is 0.20. Once we make the computation of weight of Y, then weight of RF will be calculated as balancing figure. So weight of RF is 1 minus weight of Y. So 1 minus 0.20, that comes to 0.80. This is the way weight of Y will be found as balancing figure. That is, weight of RF will be found as balancing figure. The question says further, calculation, that is calculate the proportion in which investment should be made. B part of the question says that to calculate return of the portfolio for each of the investor. Now the question says that what will be the return to each investor? That is the question. So we understand that it is A and B. There are two investors. Investment in, as far as A investor is concerned, he has made investment in X and RF. Weight or proportion. Weight of X is 0.25. Weight of RF would be 0.75. Return. As far as the security A is concerned, the return is 28 percentage. So this is 28 percentage. And for discrete security, the return is 10 percentage. So what will happen? Weight into return. So use your calculator. 0.25 into 28, that comes to 7. 0.75 into 10, that comes to 7.5. That comes to overall 14.5. That is the way we understand that the answer can be calculated for Mr. A. For Mr. B, similar working, dear students. Investment is made in Y and RF. The proportion in which the investment is made is, in Y it is 0.20 and in RF it is 0.80. As far as the return is concerned, return is 37, this is 37 and this is 10. Weight into return, 0.2 into 37, that is 7.4. 0.8 into 10, that comes to 8. 8 plus 7.4 is 15.4. This is the way we are required to make the calculation of return of portfolio for Mr. A and for Mr. B. So this is the way the return is calculated for the investments that they have made. Before I proceed further, just would like to ask a question to all of you, that what do you think that the returns which have been provided to us in the question are mean return, or they are provided as a required rate of return as per CAPM? Can you answer that in the chat box? The returns which have been given are as per CAPM, or it is based on the past experience, that is mean return? Let us have understanding that say how to verify the same. Of course, say that is not the question which has been asked over here, but I am giving you that explanation because that is going to be relevant, say the subsequent portion of the question. Dear students, you can see that the question is providing the information about the RF. Since the question is providing the information about RF, what you can do, assuming that both the returns are as per CAPM, you can compute RM minus RF. If at all RM minus RF calculated using both of them individually is same, then in that case the given returns are as per CAPM, not otherwise. So only for understanding purpose I am showing this working to you. Required rate of return is equal to RF plus beta into RM minus RF. So now again required rate of return minus RF is equal to beta into RM minus RF. Again beta is equal to required rate of return minus RF divided by RM minus RF. That is what we understand. We understand, dear students, that for both the securities, for security X and for security Y, we can work out the answer like this. The required rate of return is 28, RF is 10, divided by, okay, we have to calculate the RM minus RF. So I keep RM minus RF on the left hand side and beta in the denominator. For security X, the beta is 1.4. Similarly for Y, we will do answer. It is 37 minus 10 divided by beta. What is beta? 1.75. Okay. Use your calculator. 28 minus 10, that is 18 divided by 1.4. So 12.8571. 37 minus 10, 27 divided by 1.75. So 15.4286. we can see that say these two values are not matching. As these two values are not matching, that is the reason the given returns are not as per CAPM. The given returns are mean return. That is what we understand. So friends, this is the way we can have the understanding so regarding the returns which have been provided to us. Going back further, second part of the question. The second part of the question is important. See, the first part of the question is not so important. It is only the working that say we already have done. That is what say we have done once again. So that say we can understand the second part of the question. Again, I want somebody of you to write answer in the chat box. If an investor is considering making investment in risk-free security with either security X or security Y. So it is RF plus X or RF plus Y. Then which security would you recommend? That is the question. So the question says that say in which combination you would like to make investment. That is the question. Is it RF plus X or RF plus Y? Put your answer in the chat box. So friends, over here we understand that say since we already have made the calculation, you can very well understand that say both the working that we have done in which beta of the portfolio is 0.35, and you can see that say the combination of Y with RF is able to generate a return which is greater than combination of X with RF. Y with RF is able to generate the more return in comparison of to X plus RF. So what investor should do? Investor should make investment, that is anybody should make investment in Y plus RF instead of X plus RF. That is what we understand. So let us write an answer for the second part of the question. Investor is advised to make investment in RF and Y because for same risk, comma, it is able to generate higher return. This is what we understand. Now, very importantly, friends, suppose in examination we have directly the second part of the question. We don't have the first part of the question at all. If at all we don't have the first part of the question at all, then in that case, how we can give answer for the second part of the question directly? That is what now I am going to explain to you. In that case, or we can say that say even we can write answer for this question with an alternative manner. Dear students, we have understood a term that is given a name as Sharpe ratio. As far as the Sharpe ratio is concerned, it is indicating what is the additional return for every 1 unit of additional risk. That is what we understand is a Sharpe ratio. Exactly the way we make the computation of the Sharpe ratio, we are going to make the calculation of Trainer's ratio to identify that between these two securities, which security is better to be combined with risk-free security. I hope that everybody recalls so the Sharpe ratio, which is calculated as what is the additional return for every 1 unit of additional risk which is undertaken in the portfolio. Exactly the same thing is applicable over here. As far as the trainer's ratio is concerned, trainer's ratio is calculated as, listen carefully, additional return divided by additional risk. As far as additional return is concerned, it is X per minus RF divided by beta of the security minus beta of risk-free security. And we know that the beta of the risk-free security is 0. So divided by beta. This is the way the trainer's ratio is calculated. Once again, we understand that say we would like to have the maximum return for every 1 unit of additional risk that you undertake in the investment. So we would like to select a security which is having highest trainer's ratio. In this example, there are two securities once again, security X and security Y. As far as security X is concerned, in that the return is 28 minus 10 divided by beta. What is beta? Beta is 1.40. Similarly for security Y, it is 37 minus 10 divided by beta, that is 1.75. 28 minus 10, that is 18. 18 divided by 1.4, 12.8571. 37 minus 10, 27 divided by 1.75, so 15.4286. So what does this indicate? This is indicating the additional return for every 1 unit of additional risk that you undertake in the portfolio, that you undertake in the security. So we understand that say we should make a combination of RF with Y, because that combination will be able to give you higher return for every 1 unit of additional risk that you undertake in the investment. So I don't answer the question further. I'm dictating a note to you before we proceed further. Decision about combining RF with security X or security Y can also be taken by calculating trainer's ratio. In bracket write down reward to volatility ratio. Full stop. It is exactly the same as Sharpe ratio in bracket write down slope or return risk trade-off or reward to variability ratio bracket over full stop. With the only difference that risk is measured in terms of beta instead of standard deviation. Full stop. Again, security having highest ratio in bracket sharp or trainers will have, sorry, will be the best. That is what we understand. Run on the formula. Trainers ratio, or it is given a name as reward to volatility ratio. It is calculated as x bar minus rf divided by beta. This is a formula which is required to be applied. That is to be calculated for security X and for security Y. Okay, now the answer starts. That note is over. So I'm just writing heading calculation of trainers ratio for X and Y. For X it is 28 minus 10 divided by 1.4. For Y it is 37 minus 10 divided by 1.75. So use your calculator. 28 minus 10 is 18 divided by 1.4, 12.8571. Next, 37 minus 10, 27 divided by 1.75, 15.4286. So we understand that say we should select RF with Y. Why? Because it has higher sharpen, that is trainers ratio. Now friends, there is an important point which I want to tell you. Listen carefully. The important point is this. Again, for understanding, whatever the working that we already have done it is absolutely like fine. But again, I'm giving you an additional explanation. In the first part of the question, if at all you make the calculation of the trainers ratio like this, okay, the working that say we have done subsequently, then we understand that so the trainers ratio is indicating that what is the return for every 1 unit of additional risk. So what is the risk that you undertake in the portfolio? 0.35. So what you have to do, 0.35 into this, into 15.4286, that comes to 5.4. So this is the additional return that you are able to generate over the risk-free rate of return 10. So you get the return of 15.4. This is 12.8571. This is the additional return for every unit of additional risk. So 12.8571 into 0.35, that comes to 4.50, plus 10, that comes to 14.50. This is the way you can get the answer. So let us have a summary of the entire answer, dear students. See, in the first part of the question, we have been provided with the ready-made information about the return of the security, about the risk-free rate of return, beta of the individual security. And the question says that, say, if at all you want to undertake a risk of 0.35 in your portfolio, then in that case, how you are going to make investment in risk-free security and in risky security. That is what, say, we have done. So for Mr. A, it is X and RF. For Mr. B, it is Y and RF. That is the way we have done the working. After that, so we have made the calculation of, so the overall return in a way that, say, if at all you make investment in like X and RF, if you invest in Y and RF, then in that case, what will be the return that, say, we have found? We have observed that the security, that is Y with RF, is able to generate the more return for the same risk. So combining Y with RF is better instead of X with RF. That is what we understand. Okay. Second part of the question says that, say, what you should do. So we have written answer Y with RF. Of course, that was the only reason that, say, we had done the entire answer. But basically, we are going to understand the new point over here is the Trainer's ratio. Trainer's ratio is exactly the same as the Sharpe ratio, with the only difference that in the division, instead of standard deviation, you will keep beta. And with that, say, you can make the computation of the Trainer's ratio. Security which is having higher Trainer's ratio should be combined with RF for the purpose of generating the highest return for any given level of risk. That is what we understand. And whatever the Trainer's ratio answer that, say, we compute is what we understand is corresponding to the working that we already have made.